New York Times reporter Maggie Haberman has been basically embedded, if you will, with Donald Trump, his campaigns, his administration, everything since Donald Trump burst onto the political scene. And I say that to tell you what Maggie Haberman is now saying is taking place behind closed doors with Donald Trump and his allies. According to a recent interview that Haberman gave with CNN, Haberman says that Donald Trump and his team are privately terrified that the Supreme Court might not step in to save him as he fights to stay on state ballots. Here is what Haberman had to say. Privately, he's saying similar things to what he's saying publicly, which is, this is election interference and making all the political arguments that we have gotten used to. This isn't something that his folks are seeking out. It's yet another set of court cases when they already have a pretty full load of those. But some of his political advisors do think there is political advantage, at least in the short term. In Colorado, he's still on the ballot, so even as that case is likely to go forward to the Supreme Court, he's on the ballot because the decision of the ruling there has been stayed. In Maine, we don't quite know yet what's going to happen. They believe, generally speaking, he and his advisors, that they will have success at the Supreme Court. But he has also voiced some concern that a court that has, he appointed 3 of the justices to the Supreme Court and gave the conservatives a supermajority, he is concerned that they are going to look at as if they're trying not to rule in his favor and might rule against him. So Trump's fear, again, behind closed doors, he is terrified the Supreme Court's not going to bail him out, but not because there's a pretty solid 14th Amendment argument to be made to keep him off the ballot, but he is worried that this Supreme Court is so worried about looking biased that they would end up ruling against him just to say, hey, look, we're not biased, we just ruled against the guy. Now, Trump may be saying that. I don't doubt it. Again, Haberman has been one of the most accurate people to report on the goings-on inside of Trump world since the beginning. So I do believe that Trump is expressing that concern. But I think deep down, he's more worried about the actual legal arguments because they are strong. If you have determined that Donald Trump did engage in an insurrection, either, explicitly or tacitly, which the Colorado court did say he supported it by not stopping it, that's kind of their main legal argument there. If that has been determined, then the 14th Amendment 100% applies based on the wording of Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. That's a given. But if the Supreme Court says, no, he didn't engage in an insurrection, or no, he did, but the 14th Amendment doesn't apply, then you got a whole new set of problems, or not problems, depending on who you are. But does this Supreme Court really care about how they're viewed by the public? I mean, Clarence Thomas is still there. And you're going to tell me that Trump's worried that the court might be concerned about how the public views them as being biased? No, that's not a thing. This Supreme Court doesn't give a damn what the public thinks of them. This Supreme Court doesn't care if people think they're biased. They're going out of their way to prove that they're biased and corrupt. So I don't think that Trump's fear that he's expressing is a thing that could happen. But I do think he's using that to mask his fear that the legal arguments against him are pretty damn strong. Ring of Fire is just a few subscribers short of hitting that 1 million subscriber milestone. So if you're not already subscribed, please go ahead and do so and stay up to date with all of the latest from Ring of Fire.